So you got sued. What do you do? This video is a little different than some of the other videos. This is kind of like you and me sitting down in front of the fireplace, sitting here having a chat, and we're going to go over some of the strategies for protecting your assets from lawsuits. And what do you do when you get sued? What's it like? What's the process like? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. What's it like being sued? What do you do to protect yourself? How should you react when that process server shows up at your door? So the way a lawsuit works is somebody decides they want to sue you. They have a cause of action, the reason why they're suing you, and then they hire an attorney. Typically, that attorney will draft their legal documents to file in the public records so everybody can look it up and see it, and then they hire a process server who bangs at your door, meets you when you're pulling out of the driveway. They'll come to your place of employment, wait till you go to the grocery store, and then they hand the papers to you, and then you've been served. So if you don't reply, you automatically lose, and depending on the state where you live, they can take your house, your car, empty your bank accounts, take your business away from you. So it's a position where you need to fight or you're going to lose. So it's something where you really need to act, you need to fight, and need to answer it. Typically, that means hiring an attorney to answer the lawsuit. They'll reply with your perspective and your side using the law, and that attorney will file a response for you. Then they go through the process of discovery. Your attorney asks them questions, their attorney asks you questions, and so on, and you are answering these questions under oath, so you need to tell the truth. So if you don't tell the truth, that can get into the criminal aspect of things, so you just want to be truthful, honest, and answer the questions truthfully. So what do you do once this happens? You know you're about to be sued. Maybe you're in a career that leaves you quite vulnerable. A physician, an accountant, an attorney. Maybe you're in the construction industry. Maybe you have real estate. Maybe you're just employed by somebody and somebody comes and slips and falls, or you get into a car crash and you're sued for way more than your insurance coverage. What do you do? So now we're talking about asset protection from lawsuits. I've been in the business since 1991, so that's over 30 years as of this video. And our company started in 1906, so that's well over 115 years as of this video. People call us and they tell us their stories of these terrible lawsuits they're in. And what we do is we take each asset and we put it in the proper slot. So here's an example. Let's say Joe is a physician who has a $5 million portfolio, could be $500,000. So this is the money that Joe has set aside maybe for retirement, something in the future, and to give Joe and his family a secure living situation so they don't have to worry about paying their bills. So what does Joe do? Joe also has a building that he operates his business out of, 5 rental properties, a personal residence, let's say in New Jersey. There's no homestead protection in New Jersey, so somebody can take the house. Let's say Joe lives in a $1.5 million house. It's free and clear, and somebody can come and they can just take that house away from Joe. If Joe's married, Joe and his spouse, and they will be living in the streets or have to find some alternative place to live. So what do? What we do in this case is the strongest asset protection tool in the world is the international trust. We typically establish those in the Cook Islands. That's south of Hawaii. It's in the same time zone. We may also establish it in the Caribbean island of Nevis. Both of these jurisdictions have very strong, powerful asset protection provisions when it comes to trusts, so that when a U.S. court says, give me the money, our offshore trustee / law firm steps in to protect those assets from lawsuits. U.S. courts don't have jurisdiction over our foreign law firm. So what we also do is we put an LLC, a limited liability company, inside the trust. Typically that's established in the Caribbean island of Nevis, N-E-V-I-S, and that is because it has the strongest asset protection case law history and laws for LLCs. Why do we do it that way? We do that because the client typically wants to be the signature on the bank accounts initially until the bad thing happens where those assets could be taken in a lawsuit if they retain that control. A lot of people want control, but the extent of control that you have also gives the judge control to order you around. If you have 100% ability to reach in and scoop up that money in the trust, then the judge can force you to use that control to scoop up the money and give it to your enemy at law. So whereas we think control is a good thing, control in many cases can reach back and bite us in the backside because that gives the judge control to tell us what to do. And that's why this trust works so well. And the trustees are licensed, bonded law firms who have decades of experience, track records to show they do do the right thing. And when you look at the least corrupt jurisdictions, that is the jurisdictions that are the most trusted, where the fewest bad things happen financially, that is somebody doing some trick with your money, the most trusted jurisdictions and the jurisdictions where there's the least corruption, there's two tied for number one, and that's New Zealand and Denmark. In fact, what do you think Cook Islands is a part of? It's part of New Zealand, the most trusted jurisdiction in the world, along with Denmark. So if you're going to pick a jurisdiction to protect your money, well, choosing the most trusted jurisdiction in the world, New Zealand, which Cook Islands is a part of, is a really great start. And I've been in the business for over 30 years, and I've never seen anybody lose money that has had their funds in a Cook Islands trust. In fact, for me and my family, we've chosen the Cook Islands Trust for ourselves. So that shows somebody who's an expert in the field. In fact, I've set up more offshore trusts than anybody in the world. We've set up more Nevis LLCs than anybody in the world. And with all this experience, what I've chosen for my own family, well, it really speaks volumes. We have attorneys on staff who are experts in asset protection. We have consultants on staff who have been with the company for 10, 15 years. So if you can give us a call, if you have questions, then we can help you with that. So for the liquid assets, the very strongest asset protection in the world is the offshore trust, okay? Now, what about this real estate? Well, like Joe's building, the rental properties, personal residence. What we do there is a series of strategies. Typically, we'll put each property into a separate land trust for privacy of ownership. That way, when somebody looks your name up in the public records, they don't see you owning anything. So you're less likely for a contingent fee attorney to go sniffing around suing you because they don't see any assets. So privacy of ownership is strategy number one. Now, the land trust is not an asset protection device, it's a privacy device. Privacy is step number one when it comes to asset protection. Then what we do is we employ equity stripping strategies. Step number one is we record a mortgage against each property. So the personal residence, the rental properties, the building, we'll slap a big mortgage on it. Typically, we won't slap mortgages amounting to more than 90% of the value. So it's reasonable. A judge will see that as reasonable. Typically, we will record a lien against the property, a mortgage lien payable to, let's say, this Nevis LLC that's inside the trust. Now that's step number one because that's not going to survive alone when subject to tremendous scrutiny. That is a lawsuit prevention strategy. But once you really get into the thick of things and start asking about these assets, that's when we go to step number two, and we have a third-party lender who purchases these liens if needed. And by the way, we typically only need to do this strategy in about 1% of cases because step number one works in about 99% of the cases. In about 1% of the cases, we'll get a third-party lender to purchase those mortgages and then put the proceeds of those mortgages into your offshore trust structure so nobody can take it. Now, the third-party lender is a true third party, and there's some fees involved. It's quite reasonable, maybe 1% to 2% of the mortgage amount annually, so it's very, very reasonable. In other words, the lender pays you an interest rate on those proceeds, and then there's an interest rate in the mortgage. That's usually a small difference of about 1% to 2%, depending on the mortgage amount. So that's for real estate. Now, for each individual property that's a rental property, we'll put each property into a separate LLC. In other words, we'll make the LLC the beneficiary of each land trust. So each property is in a separate land trust, and we set up a separate LLC for each property so that LLC is the beneficiary of each individual land trust. So you have privacy of ownership through the land trust, you have the asset protection, lawsuit protection with the LLCs, and then they're separated from each other from liability purposes. So if somebody slips and falls on that one rental property, it's not going to be like a domino and wipe out your whole real estate investment portfolio. So that's why we separate each asset from each other, because real estate is a dangerous asset. Somebody could slip and fall on that property, and you don't want them to be able to take all the rest of the properties when they sue for more than the insurance covers. Happens every day. So no matter how much insurance you have, somebody can always sue for more, right? You can imagine that, and that happens all the time. So that's what we do for the liquid assets. That's what we do for the real estate assets. For automobiles, we can record UCC1 liens against those properties or other personal property, then have the third-party lender get in and take over, put the money into an offshore trust that we set up for you. The judge sees that as a true third-party lien. Now, you can't run away and spend that money. That would be too risky for the lender, but it shows the judge that this is a true third-party lien and that you've received the proceeds. So those are some of the strategies that we employ to protect assets from lawsuits. Lawsuits are scary. They're stressful. They drain your energy. They drain your money because those legal fees just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. You don't know if that attorney is working 5 hours a week or 50 hours a week when you get that bill. The bill could be $5,000. It could be $50,000. You just don't know. The key thing is protect yourself from those lawsuits. We have many attorneys and consultants on staff with our company, and they can help you, walk you through the process, answer your questions, and then if you're ready to do it, you can set up an asset protection plan. So that kind of gives you a general outline. This is our sit down by the fireplace chit chat about asset protection. I hope you found it useful, and hopefully you like the video, and that'll be your thanks for the time and effort that it puts forth to put this video together. Hopefully it helped you. Just want to give you peace of mind. You can also click the subscribe button so that when more videos come out like this, you'll be up to date right away. So thanks for watching. I'm glad you joined me in this fireside chat about asset protection. This is the Business Guy.